is essentially the way of nirvana, and involves mental, physical, intellectual, and spiritual aspects. Religiously, emptiness connotes moksha, a total freedom or liberation from ignorance, evil and suffering in this world. Psychologically, emptiness is non-attachment. It requires that emotional and intellectual attachments, which are sources of evil and suffering in life, should be purged. The doctrine of emptiness advocates that one empty the mind of passions and illusions. Ethically, this negation of cravings, especially of egoistic desire, will enable one to love all men equally. Nirvana is for all people. The man of emptiness is the man of karuna, who helps all sentient beings obtain nirvana. Epistemologically, emptiness is prajna, an unattached insight that no truth is absolutely true. The so-called ultimate truth and worldly truth are relative to each other. Such wisdom is a positive force in the elimination of extremes and ignorance so that one may be enlightened. Metaphysically, emptiness means that all things are devoid of nature, character, and function. It teaches that an ontological entity given by metaphysicians is not real in the universe, but a mental fabrication. Metaphysical speculation should be discarded as one seeks nirvana.
For San-lun Buddhists, the doctrine of emptiness suggests a way of life. Ordinary men desire sensual pleasure and often believe it is one of the most valuable things in life. On the other hand, religious persons who love spiritual values may look down upon sensualists and think that the spiritual life has nothing to do with pleasure. For the Madhyamikas, the hedonistic way of life is one extreme and the ascetic way of life is another. The doctrine of emptiness is given to empty a person of these extremes and prepare him to live the middle way. Hence it is regarded as the same as the doctrine of the middle way. This teaching of emptiness as the middle way, according to San-lun Buddhists, was the Buddha's original teaching. It was expressed in the Buddha's first sermon. To 5 medicants as follows: to devote oneself to ascetic practice with an exhausted body only makes one's mind more confused. It produces not even a worldly knowledge, not to speak of transcending the senses. It is like trying to light a lamp with water, there is no chance of dispelling the darkness.
To indulge in pleasures also is not right, this merely increases one's foolishness which obstructs the light of wisdom. I stand above these 2 extremes, though my heart is kept in the middle. Sufferings in me have come to an end, having been freed of errors and defilements, I have now attained peace. For the Madhyamika, the Buddha's teaching aims at rejecting dualistic thought and feeling. Philosophers may use polar concepts such as origination or extinction, permanence or impermanence, sameness or difference, an arrival or departure, to describe the nature of events. These conceptual views are extreme and should be refuted, Nagarjuna wrote. Salute the Buddha, the foremost of all teachers, he has taught the doctrine of dependent co-arising. The reality of things is marked by no origination, no extinction, no permanence, no impermanence, no identity, no difference, no arrival, no departure.
Nagarjuna's idea of emptiness as the middle way of eightfold negation does not imply 8 negations merely, but the total negation of all extreme views, a process of purifying the mind. Negation has to be employed until intellectual and emotional attachments are eradicated from one's life. This process is dialectical in character. The denial of the concept is does not entail the affirmation of the concept is not, because the latter is shown to be as contradictory or absurd as the former. Madhyamika dialectic aims not to establish a thesis, but merely to expose the absurdity or contradiction implied in an opponent's argument. It is purely analytic in nature until there is no position left to be proved. Cheng wrote, in order to make this point clear, San-lun doctrine teaches that each thesis that may be proposed concealing the nature of truth must be negated by its antithesis, the whole process advancing step by step until total negation has been achieved. Thus the idea of existence, representing worldly truth, is negated by that of non-existence, representing ultimate truth. In Tum the idea of non-existence, which now becomes the worldly truth of a new pair, is negated by the idea of neither existence nor non-existence, and so forth until everything that may be predicated about truth has been negated.
This dialectical method is well illustrated in the Chinese San-lun analysis of the concepts yu and wu. Philosophers may dispute whether being or non-being is the reality of the universe. Metaphysicians may assign what is real or what is to the realm of being, and what is unreal or is not to the realm of non-being. And they may make ontological commitments to non-being as well as to being. Nothing or non-being, as the name of something, may be regarded as more real than being itself. Thus Lao Tzu claimed that being comes from non-being. But since San-lun Buddhists contended that all metaphysical views are dogmatic, the concepts of being and non-being are both unintelligible. To say that either being or non-being is the reality of the universe, and has priority over the other, is an extreme view. Buddha's Dharma, according to San-lun masters, is given to empty the concepts of is and is not. Nor does this teaching of the middle way, for which Madhyamika is named, imply that reality is beyond being and non-being, but, again, that metaphysical or conceptual speculations should be eliminated. Taking another approach, San-lun Buddhists pointed out that what is real must have its own essential nature, and cannot be dependent upon other things or come from causal conditions. But to claim that anything is ultimately real would contradict the fact that all phenomena are bound by the relations of cause and effect, unity and diversity, and duration and destruction. For the Madhyamikas, the perceived object, the perceiving subject, and knowledge are mutually interdependent. Whatever we can know through experience is conditioned, so it cannot be ultimately real. Alternatively, San-lun Buddhists argued that that which is unreal can never come into existence. If it exists, it must have certain characteristics through which we know its existence. But that which is unreal has no characteristics, so it is absurd to say that something is unreal. Therefore, being as something unreal cannot be established. Thus, being cannot be defined or described as real or unreal. Hence it is unintelligible to use being to explain the true nature of the universe. This view, too, is untenable and should be ruled out.
For San-lun Buddhists, the denial of being does not, further, entail that non-being can be used to explain and describe the true nature of the universe. To say that non-being is real is a contradiction in terms and hence makes no sense. For so-called non-being is without characteristics, while that which is real has characteristics. So, to say that non-being is the reality of the universe is the same as saying that that which has no characteristics has characteristics. This is contradictory. So, the assertion of the reality of non-being is unintelligible and should be refuted. According to San-lun masters, non-being cannot be defined or described as unreal either. For that which is unreal can never come into existence and hence cannot be perceived. If it can never be perceived, it cannot be described and defined. If it is indescribable or indefinable, how can it be described or defined as non-being?
According to Cheng, metaphysical speculation about being and non-being is at the root of erroneous or perverted views. It involves an attached way of thinking. When people have an ontological commitment to something, whether being, non-being, or other things, they ascribe a determinate or own nature to it. The thing is believed to possess an essence or quality of being itself. For Cheng, this attached way of thinking is a kind of disease, which leads people to objectify various concepts of the world and multiply realities or ontological entities beyond necessity. Unfortunately, San-lun Buddhists argued, people fail to see this and continue to make ontological commitments to things and become attached to them. Early scholastic Buddhist philosophy, according to Nagarjuna and his followers, was a good example of this.